So now this is the hadith Sahih al-Bukhari 175 that she was referencing to, okay, narrated by Aisha. She said, once the Prophet ﷺ was bewitched so that he began to imagine that he had done a thing which in fact he had not done. So let's quickly refute her claims that the Prophet ﷺ created the entire religion while being bewitched. We know that the Prophet ﷺ was received the revelation for a period of 23 years before he returned back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is false. The Prophet ﷺ wasn't, under magic for that entire period, okay? The period wasn't stated, and this leads to my second refutation of her claim that the Prophet ﷺ was bewitched for a period of 6 months to 2 years. As you can see, it is not part of the hadith, and she claimed that Aisha said for a period of 6 months to 2 years.
So here you have his wife admitting that this man was bewitched for a period of anywhere between 6 months to 2 years.
This is false. This is what these missionaries do. They take a truth and then they paint it or they brush it with lots of lies. So when you try to argue with them, then they quickly reference you to that truth that they pick. And of course you wouldn't know that, okay, these are additional statements that they do just to throw you into confusion and to make you leave your religion and embrace theirs. I understand that these might come as a shocker to some Muslims. They will be asking, why would the Prophet ﷺ be bewitched? Why would Allah allow this when we know Allah, the Prophet ﷺ has full protection from Allah? We should understand something, that sometimes Allah allows some things to happen out of his wisdom, so we may understand how much we need Allah and how much humans we are. If this doesn't happen to the Prophet ﷺ, then we might start thinking that the Prophet ﷺ is not just a human, but can be God. And this is exactly what happened in the case of Isa. When you ask people why do they think Jesus is God, one of the first things they will tell you is he is sinless, and all humans are known to be sinful. So if he's sinless, it means he's not just a human or not just an ordinary human. He's more than that. He's more than just being a human. And sometimes when we look at this deeply, we would understand that these are the things that push people to that edge and will start calling humans God. So let's quickly go to this other hadith where Aisha narrated a longer version of this short hadith. So in this hadith of Aisha, find in Al-Bukhari 3268, we would understand that Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said, a spell was put on the Prophet ﷺ until he imagined that he had done a thing when he had not done it. One day he made dua, then he said, do you know that Allah has shown me in what lies my cure? 2 men came to me, and one of them sat at my head and the other at my feet. One of them said to the other, what is ailing this man? He said, he has been bewitched. He said, who has bewitched him? He said, Labid ibn al-Asam. He said, with what? He said, with a comb, the hair that is stuck to it, and the skin of a pollen male date palm. He said, where is it? He said, in the well of Dharwan. The Prophet ﷺ went out to the well. Then he came back and said to Aisha, when he came back, its date palms are like the heads of devils. I said, did you take it out? He said, no, Allah has healed me, and I feared that might bring evil upon the people. Then the well was filled in. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered that the well be filled. So as you can see, even from this longer version of the hadith, there's nothing like, it lasted for the duration of 6 months to 2 years. That's a lie. And also that the entire religion was created while the Prophet ﷺ was being bewitched, okay? And you might see a weak narration that stated that the Prophet ﷺ was affected for 40 days. And also another that the Prophet ﷺ was affected for 6 months, and these are the two you can get. These are the two you would get, and these are weak narrations. They are probably hearsays, okay? So from this hadith, we would understand that the effect of the magic on the Prophet ﷺ is for him to think that he had done something, and in the actual sense of it, he had not done anything. And when we dig further, we would understand what exactly Aisha radiallahu anha meant by the Prophet imagining things. You see, Ibn Hajar say, this is what is stated clearly in the report of Ibn Uyayna that is narrated by Al-Bukhari, which says, until he thought that he had had intercourse with his wives when he had not done so. So now this is the effect of the magic. Like I said, it has nothing to do with the deen, it has nothing to do with revelation. She's only cooking up a story from her head just to confuse the Muslims. It clearly shows how insincere she is. It clearly shows she prefers to lie just to sell her religion, and Muslims shouldn't get confused regarding this. Okay, and this is, you know, normal with humans, that you imagine that you've done something, but in the actual sense of it, you've done nothing. And in fact, people would tell you that you've not done this, then you would say, I thought I did this. Okay, so this is normal, and that's the effect of the magic on the Prophet ﷺ. So I hope as Muslims you understand and also appreciate the fact that Allah allows some things to happen, so we can pick one or two lessons. We understand that the Prophet ﷺ, after being bewitched, he needed Allah, he made dua to Allah, and Allah cured him. It shows that the Prophet ﷺ is in need of Allah. It shows that the Prophet ﷺ is a human that can be affected by anything. Okay, and just as much as Jesus alayhi salam that went hungry, and Allah used that you know, as, you know, a point to show Christians that someone that needs food cannot be God. And in fact, in the Bible, we see the same thing, that Jesus needed some fruit, and when he went to a fig tree, there was nothing, and he cursed the tree. It simply shows that he can go hungry, no God can go hungry, and also it shows that he needs food to quench the hunger. Allah or God doesn't need food to quench hunger. He doesn't even go hungry in the first place. So these are signs to show that we are humans and we need some things to survive. So with this I say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Don't forget to stick around, we still have more to answer inshallah. And these are, you know, series of arguments that you might see these missionaries, these Christian apologetics using against Muslims. And sometimes Muslims get confused, that, you know, they begin to have doubts regarding Islam. And we would keep doing this inshallah. Like I said, we'll keep doing this until every Muslim get convinced about Islam. Bi-izzatillahi wa qudrati. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.